Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my review for The Creator, an original science fiction film from director Gareth Edwards. The movie takes place in the future. Artificial intelligence has become a thing. It's been prominent for many years, but there was an incident that happened that led the United States to basically wage war against the machines. The story of this movie involves a soldier played by John David Washington who is called back into service after leaving for very personal reasons. The reason he is called back is because a secret weapon has been discovered in possession of the AI that could potentially turn the tide of the war. But when John David Washington's character finds this weapon, it turns out that it's a little kid. And this kid actually has a link to something within John David Washington's past. So they go on a journey to try and not get killed, and secrets are discovered, and John David Washington starts to learn several things about his own past and the whole secret behind this entire war. I had heard so much buzz surrounding this movie before critics even got a chance to see it themselves. One of my YouTube friends talked about how he knew several people that saw test screenings for this film and talked about how great it was. And normally I don't buy into positive reception for test screenings because in my mind it just sounds like a bunch of people who are just happy to see a big movie early so they can brag about it. That's just my own personal opinion though, so I was a little skeptical on this one. However, this is from Gareth Edwards, who not only directed one of the best Disney-era Star Wars movies, Rogue One, but he also directed the best American version of Godzilla in 2014. And I really like both those movies, so I was willing to give this film a shot, especially since this is technically an original idea. It's not based off any pre-existing source material, it's not a sequel, it's not a remake, even though it borrows a lot from other movies and wears it on its sleeve proudly. It is an original film and one that I enjoyed quite a bit. One of the things I've always admired Gareth Edwards for as a director is his ability to show things in a massive scale. He did a fantastic job with that in Godzilla, showing how massive these monsters were compared to civilians and a lot of the city. And there were a lot of moments throughout Rogue One where he really emphasized how big the Death Star is, how massive the Battle of Scarif in space spanned for. He does a great job with a sense of scale, and this movie is just as impressive in terms of its visual effects and the way it looks. Probably even more so because of how little this movie costs. The biggest thing that everyone has been complimenting this movie for, even those that are not fans of it, is how little this movie costs. You look at a film like this, a science fiction film with a lot of visual effects that's over 2 hours, and you think this has got to be $200 million easy, yeah? No, it's actually $80 million. And when I watched this whole movie, I thought to myself, there's no way this movie cost $80 million because it is just too good looking of a movie to cost that little. But it's true. This movie really did cost $80 million and puts a lot of the big budget movies that we've seen this year to shame. With Ant-Man and the Wasp having a budget of $200 million, The Flash having a budget between $200 and $220, to Dial of Destiny having a budget between $295 million and $300 million, and all of them look like shit compared to what The Creator has to offer. Like, seriously, The Creator looks just as good as Avatar: The Way of Water. Like, it is that visually stunning in terms of a movie, and the fact that it costs that much is very admirable. The world itself feels grand, it's awe-inspiring, and it feels believable. Like, yeah, this is how the world would be if artificial intelligence was as prominent as it is in this film. The main weakness with this movie does have to stem from the characters and the overall plot. The characters are not bad, and there are a lot of good actors who give it their all, like John David Washington, Gemma Chan, Allison Janney, Ken Watanabe. All of them are really good, but the characters themselves are not written to be super interesting or all that memorable. The best actor in the movie is actually the little girl that played Alfie. She's fantastic, especially when we get to the end of the film when her character has to go through a lot of heavy drama. She gave a really good performance. And as for the plot itself, it is the basic surrogate father and daughter journey movie that we've seen so recently in this decade alone. We've seen it with The Mandalorian, with Din Djarin and Grogu. Even though The Last of Us on HBO is based off the video game that had this plot, we saw it there. We saw it with 65, which I thought did it the worst. And the creator does this plot line much better than 65, but it is a plotline that feels tired and it feels stale. We've seen it before, and it doesn't really add anything new to that plotline. And I know a lot of people will be making arguments about how everything else in this movie is not original at all. And true, there are certainly familiar ideas from other movies, like Terminator, Avatar, Apocalypse Now, Akira, RoboCop. There's so many influences that you could see in this movie, but I didn't feel like it got to a point where the creator was uninspired or lazy with these concepts to the point where they were blatant rip-offs. I thought they were done well enough to where it felt original. This movie honestly reminded me a lot of Pacific Rim, where yes, that movie itself was clearly inspired by Godzilla and a lot of other tokusatsu properties, but I felt like it was original enough and done in a very unique way that it felt fresh and new. And I feel like this movie may go down the same route where it's not a box office success, which is very disappointing, but you know, that's the way things are. I feel like later down the line, it's gonna get a lot more appeal and become a cult classic just like Pacific Rim. I would say this is absolutely worth seeing in your lifetime. I know this October is gonna be packed because we've got Exorcist Believer, we've got Taylor Swift's concert coming to theaters, Five Nights at Freddy's. There's gonna be a lot that's coming out this October. Oh, and not to mention Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. But if you get the chance to see the creator in a theater, you should absolutely take that chance because this is a movie that deserves to be seen in theaters. Gareth Edwards' direction is really good. Greg Fraser's cinematography is just gorgeous. It's entertaining. It's never boring. And I found it to be a lot of fun, especially when we got to the climax of the film. I'm really disappointed that this movie wasn't a bigger hit because I think it opened up with $14 million, and for costing $80 million, that's not that good. The reason I wanted this to be a hit, outside of it being a good movie, is the same reason I wanted Michael Bay's Ambulance to be a hit. Because it's a movie that's made on a limited budget, and it's very impressive because of that. In the case of Ambulance, it was shot entirely in LA, and I wish that movie was a bigger hit because it would influence studios to make more movies in Los Angeles. And this I wish was a bigger hit because at $80 million, and for looking better than most of the blockbusters that we've gotten this year, maybe it would send Hollywood a message to not spend so much money on these massive tentpole films. But I don't know, that's unfortunate. It's a good movie at the end of the day. I really liked it, and I hope Gareth Edwards gets to make more movies in the future because I think he's got a lot of potential as a director. Even though he's proven himself with Godzilla, Rogue One, and his indie film Monster, I really think he deserves a bigger career further down the line. And there you go, that's my review for The Creator. I hope you enjoyed it, and now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.